Hey there, rainbow heads. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am super pumped because I'm going to be showing you guys one of my favorite techniques for creating holographic inspired hair. If you've been following me for a while on Instagram, this look might seem somewhat familiar to you because I've used this technique quite a few times for creating various holographic inspired colors. Okay, so before I get 100 comments from Simply Nailogical fans saying over and over again how this is not holo, which sometimes happens on my Instagram page whenever I post hair that I say is holographic inspired. No, this is not actually holo. Unfortunately, the technology for holographic hair color does not actually exist. So this is my best interpretation of what holographic hair would look like. Inspired is the key word, you guys. So anyway, let's get started. So let's start with what you're gonna need. You're gonna need a wig or a head of hair, color, clips, a tail comb, bowls and brushes, and mesh strips. And if you're coloring a wig, you'll also need some T-pins and a wig form. All right, you guys, let's get started with mixing this color. So if you guys have been following me on Instagram for a while, you probably know that I do share quite frequently what products that I'm using. Try to give as best as I can an idea of my formulations. I don't really mix anything to specific measurements. I know that's really, really terrible. I'm the worst hairstylist on the planet. But for me with creative color, you kind of have the freedom not to mix things with exact proportions because you're not adding another step of developer into the mix. So it makes it really easy to kind of get creative, experiment a little bit, and not be so structured with it. That's why I like doing creative color. There is no structure. It's all creative. It's all in good fun. So I try to have as much fun with it as possible. And for me, a part of the fun is mixing the colors how I like to mix them. So I'm sorry for those of you who really like specific formulations. That's just not me. It's not my style. But I'm going to show you guys what I mixed exactly right here, right now, so you guys can kind of see how much of everything that I used. So the very first color that I'm mixing is this really dark gray color. And this is a color that I'm going to use to kind of base out the entire head of hair. I'm using this simply to shadow the root, and also because my hair all over is nearly black. It's a very, very dark brown. And so I was hoping by having my wig based out with a darker base, I could pull some of my baby hairs out when I style my wig and make it look a little bit more realistic that way. Here is my dark gray. I mixed together some conditioner and this intense black by Trillion Tones. For this pink, I mixed up some of the Matrix SoColor called Sparkling Rosé, which is one of my favorite pinks ever. It is just so pretty. And honestly, I probably would have used all Sparkling Rosé, except for I didn't really have that much left, and so I kind of had to work with what I had. So I added a little bit of conditioner to dilute it a little bit, and then deepened it back up by using Trillion Tones Red. And you can see I just added a little bit of red at a time because when you're working with these stronger colors, deep colors, they can take over really, really quickly. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't make this too red. So I just little dots at a time added my red until I got to a depth of my pink that I was happy with. For the yellow, I kept it very, very simple. I used one of my absolute favorite yellows, which is the Pravana yellow. It is such an amazing yellow. I absolutely love this yellow so much. It's so rich. It's so pretty. It covers you can take even level 8 hair that's only pre-lightened to level 8 and you can make it look yellow with this yellow. It is such a good yellow. Anyway, I'll shut up about it. But like I said, I kept it very simple. I just used conditioner and then also my Pravana yellow, and I wanted it to be a little bit more of a pastel yellow. So yeah, I mixed together conditioner and yellow. Very, very straightforward. So the next color is silver. And if you guys have followed me on Instagram for a while, or if you watch my previous bang video, this silver is one of my absolute favorite colors ever. It's the Matrix Stonewash Denim. It's kind of like a lavender based silver, and it's very misleading. As you can see here in the mixing, it looks like it's green. And I've addressed this before. This color, for whatever reason, starts out looking green as hell and then magically turns silver. I don't know why. The color just has kind of an oxidation period attached to it, and I have noticed this with other direct dyes before. This is why I always tell people, make sure you swatch your colors before you put them on hair, because you actually don't know what they're going to turn into until you give it about 5 to 10 minutes for the pigment to fully oxidize, even though this is not an oxidative color. I just mixed this with some white to dilute it a bit, give me a little bit of a lighter, more pastel silver, and yeah, despite it looking slightly like old guacamole here, yeah, it's actually silver. So the next color in our lineup is blue, and I'm going for a very pastel blue. So you can see I added a lot of conditioner to my bowl first, and then I'm just going to add the tiniest little dot of blue. The Trillion Tones blue is insanely intense, so a little dab will do ya. And finally, we have the last color in our palette, which is purple. And this Matrix SoColor Cult Royal Purple is my favorite purple of all time, I have to say. It is one of the longest lasting purples that I have ever used. When I use this full strength on my clients, they come back 8 weeks later and their hair is, I'm not even joking, almost as purple as it was the day that they left the salon 8 weeks ago. It is absolutely amazing. I personally have a lot of trouble with purple and longevity. In fact, it's a color that I recommend to a lot of my clients who are commitment phobes, because it is a color, in my experience, that in a lot of lines it tends to wash out and go back to blonde pretty quickly. But this SoColor Cult Purple is amazing. I don't have enough great things to say about it. Full disclosure, I've been sponsored by them before. I'm not currently sponsored by them. I bought this color by myself because I really like it. So yeah, this again is very simple. For this pastel purple, I just used the Royal Purple and conditioner to get to the pastel tone that I wanted. The type of placement that I'm doing today is something that I refer to as a progressive placement. The idea behind this placement is you start by creating a pattern with your selected colors, and as you progress through the hair, the last color in your pattern becomes the first color used in the next section. So for instance, my pattern is pink, yellow, gray, blue, and violet. On the next section, the pattern progresses downward and becomes violet, pink, yellow, gray, and blue. Then blue, violet, pink, yellow, gray, and so on. And as you can see, as you continue to build your color like this, you begin to see this diagonal movement begin to form in the color. Okay, now let's take that placement and put it into action. Since this is a lace front wig and not a full lace wig, I had to do the best that I could with the sectioning, so please don't judge me. This sectioning would be a hell of a lot easier on a full lace wig or a real head of hair. And yeah, by the way, you can use this placement on an actual head of hair. It's just super time consuming, like very time consuming. So if you do this on an actual head, make sure you have a very patient client. You could also do the same method as color blocking on isolated sections of the hair rather than covering the entire head, just to give a few accent pieces that have that same sort of holographic look and feel, but doesn't necessarily take 5 hours to do like this wig took me. I was feeling super extra and I decided to color the entire head with this pattern because I am a crazy person. So I started my sectioning by parting my wig down the middle from the front of the hairline all the way to the back hairline, and I separated the hair beneath what I approximated would be the nape area of the wig. I wanted my placement to follow the bob shape of this cut, so my sectioning is actually fairly similar to how I would go about that haircut. I took my first section from the center of the nape, this triangle section you can see here, and this section was a bit too wide to color all in one go, so I broke that section down one more time, and I started with this little sliver in the middle. Started applying my base color, which was the dark gray, on my first section. Then I added a piece of mesh and applied in my initial pattern order, which, as you guys remember, was pink, yellow, silver, blue, and violet. This section wasn't quite long enough to do all of those colors on, but that's okay. The sections are going to get longer as we move up, and eventually those colors will appear. I'm just following that particular pattern. I applied my colors at about a 45-degree angle down the section. After that, I pulled those side pieces towards the middle, toward that very first section, and I painted the exact same pattern on because remember, these are technically a part of my first section. I just had to break it down to make sure that things got nice and saturated. And that sounds really creepy and nasty somehow. I apologize. Now, as I said, as I place this color, I'm keeping the shape of the cut in mind. Each section I'm taking is following parallel to the section before it and is being directed back to the section before it. This is gonna end up helping give this color a diagonal forward movement. As I take my new sections, I follow my progressive placement plan. As you guys can see, I start with the violet on the next section and continue following the pattern. From here, things get pretty repetitious, as you will soon see. Just want to make sure that as you are continuing up the head, you are taking the same sectioning on both sides to keep things nice and symmetrical. If your sections are starting to become too wide for a single mesh strip to handle, go ahead and add in a second mesh strip. With each new section, I am dropping my color pattern down one more time. You can see here I am dropping down to blue in this section. The nice thing about using the mesh strips is you can see through them a little bit, so it helps give you an exact guide of where to place your colors, which is going to help keep you on track as we rinse and repeat our way through this whole process. So yeah, as I said, pretty much just doing the same thing over and over and over again until we make our way through this entire head of hair. So we're gonna be here for a while. I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward and cut through this video just to make it a little bit shorter. Okay guys, so one quick little simple change here. I ran out of mesh while I was working, so I switched over to this cling-free balayage film. As far as purposes go, mesh and balayage film are both useful in different ways. I think the biggest difference between the two products is that balayage film is a lot thinner and wispier, so it doesn't provide you a lot of structure if you need like kind of a firmer surface to hold your section against while you're working, for instance. The mesh is a little bit better for that, but balayage film is perfectly fine in this instance since we already have kind of like a nice surface sort of built with all these other mesh underneath it. I don't really have to worry about not having that nice structured surface to paint my colors against. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to clear up why I was switching over to the balayage film instead of using mesh at this point. The closer I get to the front, the wispier the ends are starting to get, and this is true of real hair and wig hair. Unfortunately, with wig hair, especially a cheaper wig like this one, that's kind of inevitable. Usually the lace fronts are very, very wispy at the ends. Most of the density is towards the root of the hair. So yeah, the ends in the front are starting to get really, really wispy. So what I've decided to do instead of taking that really tiny section by tiny section and taking forever to get that little bit of hair covered, I am going ahead and I'm going to saturate this against my sections that I've done previously. So I'm just putting in a little folded piece of balayage film right at the base there so that I can get my new color coming in for my pattern, you know, repeating that same placement right there at the very beginning of that section. And then I'm going to be pressing my section into the previously painted hair and then painting over it just to help kind of saturate and not spend so much time getting these last couple of sections done, because I have been working on this for quite a while at this point, and I was just eager to, you know, get it done, get it saturated, and move on with my life. So that's what I did here. Oh my gosh, I never thought this moment would be here. I'm finally done. So now I'm just going to wait for this to process for about 20 minutes, and then I will rinse the wig with cold water to make sure that I'm preventing any bleeding. Even in the hair world, there exists the wonderful thing that is peel porn. Does anybody else find taking out mesh and balayage film to be so satisfying? Because I don't know, I find it to be so satisfying. So now we are finally ready for the big reveal, which, I mean, it's not that big of a reveal because you already saw what the hair looked like at the beginning of the video, but you'll get a nice close-up here of me blow drying, and you'll get to see kind of like how the hair moves and all of that fun stuff, because to me that's kind of the fun of this type of creative color, is that it has so much personality to it. It's not just about how it looks like when it's sitting straight, but it transforms, you know, if you part it differently, if you curl it, if you wear it with texture. That's why I kind of think this is like the best interpretation of like holographic as hair, because it does sort of shift and change as you move it. Like, yes, the color is the same on every hair strand technically, but as you move the hair, you get that shift in color. And I love that about this color. So hopefully you guys like it. Will this really be a beauty video without the obligatory narcissistic montage? I think not. So as you guys can see, I decided to pair my wig with this sort of, kind of like, I would call it Spice Girls that make it 2019 kind of look. I hope you guys like it. Okay, you guys, I really hope you enjoyed this rainbow hair tutorial. I am really trying hard to get into the groove of doing YouTube content. I'm so used to like the flow of Instagram. Like, definitely doing these videos is a little bit more of a challenge. It's been hard for me to figure out like the exact format that I want these videos to be in. So it would be super helpful if you could drop me a comment, leave me a little bit of feedback. And if you don't have any feedback to leave, one of the things that I want to start doing is, since I'm going to be coloring a lot of wigs, I would like to name each of the wigs. So I want you guys to help me name this wig, and in the next video I do, I'm going to pick a commenter's name for this wig, and so I'll announce that in the next video. If you want to see more crazy hair color tutorials, this is going to be the channel for the craziest hair color videos on the planet. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you like the video, make sure you turn those notifications on if you don't want to ever miss a tutorial. And remember guys, hair completes the look. See you later, rainbow heads.